If you want to publish a book, but you feel stuck, out of time, and you don't know what to do next, then it's time to finish the damn book. Here's your host, Susie Schaefer.
Welcome to this episode of Finish the Damn Book. I'm your host, Susie Schaefer. Today, my guest is Kristina Lucia. Kristina is an award-winning, best-selling author, creator, and artist who ignites the imaginations of children and their parents through her limited edition animals and touching storybooks. She is the founder of the Kristina Lucia learning style. Her humble beginnings began in a small farm town where there was only one traffic light, and it sparked her creativity at a young age. Then she moved to her adopted home of New York City, which keeps her inspired daily. Curiously curated creations of Kristina Lucia features a magical array of warm, cuddly, and comforting creatures, along with storybooks that help parents and kids improve their communication and deepen their relationships. Welcome, Kristina.
Thank you for having me. It's so great to be here.
I'm so excited to share your books with our listeners today. You're working on your 14th book in the Bella series and published 7 activity books. Let's talk a little bit about what was emotionally challenging or frustrating for you with your first book.
Oh gosh, I feel like the first book, the frustration came from the technicality, from learning, because as a creator, the sky is the limit. And all of a sudden you have to narrow it down and make it work in a box. And so I think that was the biggest thing, like figuring out what the aesthetics of the cover, the layout of the book and whatnot, and understanding why we can do certain things and why we can't do certain things. I think that was the biggest thing, because a lot of times, especially as a grown woman, like I grew up with all these amazing children's books that I still love. And you're like, I want that, or I want this. And it's like, well, that was published 30 years ago. It's different now. And so I think that was the biggest thing, and really trusting you and my other guides on this journey to really put me in the right direction and really embrace your knowledge and know that you've been through the rodeo a gazillion times. You've been there, done that, seen it, and really listening. I think that's like the biggest thing, is when you find your team, really embracing and trusting them. And I think because I was with the wrong people prior, it made it much easier to trust you and everyone else on my team. So that was definitely a big moment.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because it always makes me happy when an author says, okay, I finally found my team that's going to do it for me. But I remember on that first book when you had done a lot of the illustrations, and then we had to go back with the designer and say, well, some of these have to be resized, because that was kind of a learning curve for you, because you were doing the illustrations and just, this is what you do as an illustrator.
Yeah.
And then realizing, oh, they have to be a certain size in order to fit into the book. So what was that like?
It was frustrating at first, and there's actually one book still in the queue that is illustrated that way. And I'm not scared about it because we've been through it. And I know we're going to figure out a great solution. Just in general, illustrating my own series, even though I've been drawing from a very long age, even though I have multiple degrees in the arts, this was my first time creating a character from scratch. And when you don't have a clear ending point, you are figuring things out as you go. So understanding the dimensions that I need to illustrate in actually kind of helped me cater the world a bit better. Because I will say, it was a couple books, and then I clearly remember that moment getting my proof and feeling, I got this. Like, I know how I want my characters to look. I know this is their color scheme, so da da. And then when I'd done that book where I did play with the color scheme a little bit because it was a holiday book, I got that freedom. So that's the thing about creativity, is even though the freedom element is very important, the discipline element is equally as important. So even something as simple as, these are the parameters. These are like, it needs to be in this type of shape. Even though at first it could feel constricting, at the same time, it is this like breath of fresh air, or this reality of, oh, wait, I can do this, because every illustrator, every writer has a rhythm. And it's just a matter of us defining our rhythm and understanding that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was helpful in the long run.
Yes, because it made the other books go much faster because
Yes.
you had that, you're like, okay, now I know how this needs to be illustrated. It's because I can visually see how it's going to look in the book.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's
Because
awesome.
even the color, even the covers of the color, I can't speak. I said that wrong. Excuse me. The colors of the book covers,
Yes.
even once we finalized, okay, this is the color scheme, it made my life a lot easier because
Mm,
the cover is such a big component of the marketing scheme. And also with ch children's book, you want a series. And so you want to make sure the series looks good together. And as my editor, who's also a good friend of yours too, Susan Crossman told me so kindly, she's like, "You're a AAA, Kristina." I'm like, "I know I am." And so like my head was like, this has to look good on a bookshelf. How is this going to look? So even that, unknowing, okay, these are our colors. This is what we're working with. Even that was like a sigh of relief because it
right.
just made things, especially when I'm creating and we're thinking like, okay, what's going to be the cover?
Mm,
It just gave more, like you said, it just streamlined things. It makes things easier. It just saves a lot of headaches and a lot of back and forth, all those
yeah.
things.
Okay, so besides the 14 books, the 14th is coming soon, and the 7 activity books that you have, what are some of the other merchandising that you've been working on?
So I originally started this before I even knew I was a writer. I was already crocheting and I became a knitter in the process of becoming an avid crocheter. And so I had crocheted all these characters. And so then with the crocheting, I found my way into manufacturing. So I am manufacturing the Bella Elephant stuffy as we speak. Fingers crossed, she'll either be here at the end of this year or early next year, depending on shipping costs. So that's really exciting. The other things I'm working on are partnerships, partnering with other men and women in the field that focus on children. And in particularly, especially because I'm developing a learning style around my books, I am focused on sensory, but I also look towards the Montessori method as well. I'm actually doing research in the background because as I create my style, I feel like my style falls somewhere in the middle
Mm,
of a couple different learning styles that already exist. And so I'm working on formulating, okay, what is that for me? Because there's things I hear where I'm like, that sounds good, but this sounds good, but this, and making sure it works. So in light of that, I'm always looking to partner
mm,
with people that are aligned with that. And also children's apparel too, same thing. I'm actually working on my first collaboration where we are pairing one of my books with Halloween pajamas. And ideally we're doing this for Christmas as well. And the last thing I definitely want to share too, if there's time for it,
yeah, go
is
for it.
I am developing the toddler series and the young adult series in the background as well. And that's really important to me because when you say products, I see a lot of ways to spin those illustrations off of the products and even the young adult series. I see ways for speaking engagements and school interactions and whatnot. And if someone's listening and wondering, well, Christina, why don't you just go manufacturing apparel? Or why don't you find your own sensory kits? It's because as an entrepreneur, I'm always looking to build community around me.
Right.
And I'm looking to connect with other people that have a strong handle on these fields, that have a strong awareness. And that's really where the magic happens. It's like, yes, I could go out there and figure it out because I'm already doing manufacturing my character. Maybe eventually I will, but right now, more of my focus is on creating community and also putting my books in a lane that what parents are looking for, what parents are stuffing stockings with or putting in boo baskets and all of those things.
Yeah, that's really interesting too, because the whole basis behind the series of books is really about emotional intelligence for children and
Yes.
learning new experiences and what that's like. And I think that a lot of kids today don't get that kind of feedback, they don't get that kind of learning. And so I love that you have embraced the cause publishing kind of mantra, and you're actually doing that throughout not just your books but also the products to create community around that.
Absolutely. And that's the other thing too, and that's why I say that's really what inspired me to start. I've always wanted to create a curriculum around my books. That's been in my head for over a year now. but this idea of this new learning style. And it's still something very new. It's something I'm working on with another good friend of yours, Melanie Hirschhorn, my marketing strategist, just dropping all the names. And
I love that,
and
by the
yeah,
way.
just dropping all the names for cool women. And when we're working on this, and part of that is because I think when I look at, because I'm always on social media for interaction and reach out and whatnot, like I'm very old school when it comes to sales. And a lot of what I see, and I see it in all the different styles of learning. And don't get me wrong, like I'm still researching, I'm figuring it out. But the way I see people apply it, whether it's, I don't want to name the style, I won't name the styles, I want to be rude, but what I'm seeing is a lot of very guided activities. I'm seeing a clear start and a clear end, or I'm seeing chaos. And it's one extreme or the other. And the way I was taught, especially with my art, is I was taken in about, I was 2 years younger than normally she would take a child for an art lesson. So she kind of gave, we saw some potential in me as like, I'll take your daughter, to basically told my mother. And the way Mrs. Gatequin, that was my art teacher for my entire childhood, the way she taught me is she sat me down with everybody else who was all older than me, and we learned how to shade, we learned perspective, we learned how to draw in multiple mediums. Then we learned our color wheel and basics of missing colors. And then I was given a blank canvas after those initial 3 months and was allowed to draw and
Wow.
create. But she always let me choose my own subject, but she was giving me subtle corrections and she was guiding me in a gentle way. And I realize now, as a grown woman, having gone through years of this education and still working on it, is these skills are not overnight. And when I draw in front of kids, especially when I shade with just a pencil, the kids are mesmerized, and it's so sweet because I've had more little, especially little girls, they'll turn to me and say, "How do you draw so well?" I say, because I've been drawing my whole entire life. And it's
Right?
this concept where I feel like that's a really important concept to showcase to a child, that you just don't shade once and you're done. You do it a gazillion times. And as a competitive dancer, that's another part of my life where, like, to me, it's, yeah, of course you do the same tendu like 100 zillion times and you still do it 100 zillion times over. Or I still do the same rumba walks I learned from my
Yeah.
first day I started doing Latin. And that's really what I'm looking to apply. And I think when you understand there's a process and things take time, there is a greater awareness of our inner self and also others. And I think that also heightens our emotional intelligence.
Mm.
And honestly, the only way to succeed as an artist is having a high emotional intelligence. So, like, I do hope to find that sweet spot so that I can provide something. Because I realize people might listen to this and think, well, where do I start? And that's why I hope to be able to provide something that you have a guide of where to start, but also that it's adaptable for
Yeah.
you and your child. That's really important as well.
You make a really good point, and it actually takes me back to the years that I spent in ballet. Thank you, Mrs. Ray, where she would say, practice, practice, practice. And really, that's what it's about. It's no different whether you're a writer or an illustrator or some kind of creator. If you want to perfect your talent, your skills, you have to practice at it. It doesn't just, it's not a one and done. And especially you being at book 14, you now have experienced that. Even though you brought to the table the illustration and the ability to create, you still had to practice that as you were publishing the books.
Absolutely. And like I said, I have that clear moment of looking and really feeling, wait, I got this.
Right.
And my one of my idols of all time is none other than Walt Disney.
Mm.
And when you look at Mickey Mouse, that was not a one and done. That was several years, and he's still, that character is still being evolved.
Exactly.
And we forget that. We forget when we look at Steamboat Willie, that's very different from the Mickey Mouse that evolves. Even at the time of Walt Disney's passing, the character has still evolved a bit.
Right.
And I also feel like too, the other piece of it too, as an artist, I do feel, and I don't feel like just artists, I feel like, and when I say artists, I mean musicians, dancers, writers, like any kind of Renaissance art, is that you are brought up with, you respect the other person's art. You respect what they did. And so, for example, like when I do draw Disney characters, because I do have family members that like, and I'm a Disney kid as well. Like, I do pride myself on respecting what the artist created. And it's like the same thing with someone's writing. I feel like there is people that really in this industry that really value it and that really understand it. Because that's the question I get
Mm.
from writers and authors is, oh, will someone steal my idea? No, no, no. I said no. If you're with the right people, they will respect your work. Like,
Exactly.
it's really important.
Yeah, very true. And especially true in today's world. So let's talk about your take on AI, because that's a hot topic, right? And there's a lot of people that, excuse me, are, thinking about, well, I can just go have AI generate an image, but it's so different from the time and energy and love that goes into an actual illustration. It's even different than
Yeah.
graphic design. So do you want to speak a little bit to that?
Oh, absolutely. So I really don't like AI. I really don't like it. I'm a very
Yeah,
old school girl.
me too.
I really don't like it. I mean, I'm a big believer in research. Do I use AI? Yes, when I Google something and the AI overview comes up, yes, I'll skim it. But you have to see it as a tool.
Yes.
You have to see it as a starting point. Now, in all fairness, like I get it. Because I've been told this on more than one occasion, like you have a gift. You get these images and you can just go and create it, or you get an idea and you go in your kitchen and you bake it, or like you grab
Mhm.
your crochet needles, so or your knitting needles. So I do respect that. Not I that I am able to like communicate in a various way because I can draw what I want,
Right.
or I can like write out what I want. And in that sense, I do respect where using AI to generate an image could help you communicate to an illustrator, this is what I'm looking for. But at the same time, you're also going to lose the magic
Right.
because part of working with an artist is you want to work with that artist. And that's actually where, like, for myself personally, I have struggled when I've done collaboration projects with Bella and where someone wants me to include this actually happened recently and I'm so grateful it's over. So I was doing a collaboration coloring book with a space that I was involved in at one point, and I really wanted to work with them on their children's program, and they wanted me to include this one individual who is a sponsor. And it wasn't, when people hear you're an artist, it's not even a magician. Like we all have our limitations. And they heard I said, which I do, I draw people. But they asked me to draw this individual was of an age level and also of a culture that I don't typically draw.
Mm.
And so right there, my drawing muscles like had to work. And also too, when you're drawing someone of a certain age level, especially like as a woman, like I do feel this pressure. You want someone to be nicely portrayed and you
Yes.
don't want to upset people. And it was a really hard experience and I got through it and gratefully it's done and it's like in the past now. But that's the thing too, is sometimes people want to treat us artists as like puppets on a string
Mm.
and don't want us bring to the table. Because I do have a style of the way I draw my eyes. Like I do have a very specific technique, even when I'm drawing a real person. And when I am honest in the sense that I'm not a portrait artist. If I were to draw a portrait, I know it would take me some time because again, like I'd have to do it a couple of times to get the muscles
Right.
going. Whereas when I draw my niece and nephew, it's bing bang boom so easy because they look like our side of the family
Yes.
already. But also I've always drawn kids. Like I've always, that's actually how I started drawing people as a teenager. It's like I was always drawing, I just love drawing children. I just think it's like really fun, like the contours of their face and whatnot. And so that's how I feel like and my overall general thing, how I feel about AI. I see the pros and cons, but I also see that lack of the beauty of working with an artist. And I bring up this past example because it did put a halt on a project that maybe it could have gone somewhere else if the individual was willing to treat me as a respected creator, respect my art, respect this is my style. Like, don't
Yeah.
try to put me.
Right. And you're right, because AI is not it takes the soul out of it, takes the human element out of the illustration. And so, yeah, I mean, you're exactly the way I feel about writing because it's the same thing. This is why a lot of people say, well, can we use AI in writing our books? And I say, you can use AI to fact check, you can use it to even edit, but you don't want to lose the human element of creativity in writing. So you really have to think about that, because that's where we let the what's out in the ethers, which is what AI is. It's the combination of what's out in the ethers. You let that control the narrative or the creation versus it being human controlled. There's like, this is a really interesting controversial topic, and so yeah, it's worth talking about, because we want to make sure that people understand the differences, and that AI is it's, yes, it may be perceptually correct or accurate, but it doesn't necessarily have the soul and element to it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
And
yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, no, no. I was just going to say, because I was actually talking before my friends, like I told you, I'm at my friend's house this week, and before they left on their vacation, we were talking about this spin-off of our favorite series. And I said, from a writer perspective, I said the writing isn't strong anymore.
Mm,
And it's the technique of writing. And the show, I'll just say what show I'm talking about. I'm talking about Sex and the City.
mm,
The reason
yeah.
why the original series was so strong is because you had four points of view. You had Carrie the Curious One, Charlotte the Optimist, Miranda cynical, and Samantha's the extremely audacious, bold, like the really bold tiger in
Mhm.
the group. And
Yes,
they always chose that one topic. And then they showed it through the four different perspectives. And they
exactly.
all worked it out. And that's not, I have a very difficult time seeing a computer do that. And the other piece of it too is, again, just like my other favorite shows are like Will and Grace and Frasier. Again, really great writers in that room that were sharing their experiences. And like Sex and the City, like one of the writers said, yeah, when Miranda says, I once got broken up by a man's doorman,
Mm,
that actually happened to one of the writers.
yes,
She actually had that happen. And that's that sense of humanity.
yes,
And that's why our favorite shows speak to us. And that's our job as creators, is this happy marriage of us and what our audience wants, and marrying it in between in a very subtle, organic fashion. And
yes,
so, because even if you haven't happened, you're like, oh my God, girlfriend, that's awful. Or it's like, oh my gosh, I had that happen to me last year. And that's
yes.
what we crave. We want to feel like we're in the coffee shop.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that you talk about Sex and the City, because it's one of my all-time favorite series. Yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
love it.
And the genius behind it, behind having these four archetypes as women,
Mhm.
but also the fact that that Carrie really had a love of shoes, and you and I both share that love as well.
Oh my God. Manolos are my wildest dream is to be Manolo Blanc's shoe muse. I'm not even kidding, people. If you know him, send him a DM, tell him I am ready. I have great feet. I have great
Right?
arches. I'm all over this.
Love that.
I
Great
love
arches
shoes.
because you're a dancer.
That too.
It's just all the things.
Just all the things.
So let's talk a little bit about, what has it been like for you personally? I mean, obviously your artistry, your ability to create, your illustrations, even your writing has really come a long way in the last, say, 3 years. So what has that been like for you personally? How has that evolution with you as a human, as a person, how has that been?
It's been a really interesting journey. It's definitely shaped me and how I communicate with people, how I present myself. It's sometimes when you're networking, like I will say things a certain way. Like I say I'm a writer and artist
Mhm.
because that really encompasses what I do. At the same time, there are those moments where because I love sales, like I love marketing. And so I'm that one that I'm in line to get on an airplane. I just start talking to people, or like I'm in the line for the ladies' room. I start conversations. And a lot of times when people find out you're a writer and an artist, and especially when they find out it's children's is one of the main venues, because
Yeah.
like you said, I blog, I'm writing different age levels. Like, I mean, I'm not just like one type of writer. And then I get oh, you should write this or you should write that. And so that's been a big, as much as it hurts and it can be frustrating, it
Mhm.
also helps shape me as a person. And just, okay, thank you, let it go. Just
Right.
put that aside, let it go. At the same time, I also feel more fulfilled than I ever have doing what I'm doing, and more confident about it, because for so many years, I was in a career path that I didn't belong in. And granted, I don't believe it was a mistake. I do believe I learned a lot in there. And I feel like in some ways I was developing skills that I learned that I use all the time.
Hmm.
But there is something really powerful. And the last thing I'll share, and I will say, like, you, Melanie, and Susan definitely are deserve a ton of credit for this. I will say you ladies have given me a lot of confidence in myself because
That's
I
great.
honestly didn't think I was, when I say I'm writing a young adult series and the ideas are buzzing in my head. I'm dying to get time to start writing. And just I didn't think I was capable of that when I declared myself a writer. I didn't think I was capable of that kind of writing. And it was really powerful.
Mm.
It was really powerful to come to that realization and have you ladies and my team telling me, no, you can totally do this. Like, why wouldn't you write that? Like, why wouldn't you do that? And so that's like another big thing too. So I will say that's another piece of the puzzle too, is finding your tribe. In other areas
Mm.
of my life, I'm still working on finding that tribe.
Yeah.
But I will say you're like I joke about this when I meet aspiring writers. I am not even joking about it. I'm always very serious. What's my first step? What's my first step? I'm
Yeah.
like, you need to find a good editor because your
Yeah.
editor will make or break
Absolutely.
you. Like, there's no way around it. There's just no way around it. And then from there, yes, you need all other crucial things. Like you, for example, like when people say, oh, I'm going to do Amazon myself. I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. I have my guru, Susie. I'm like, I don't do those things. I let Susie,
I
I'm
don't
like,
do those things.
well, yeah, because even other things, it gets complicated. Like when we said, but book formats and like just
Yes.
questions I have. Like even when we talked about the toddler series, and although I'm developing it, like I don't know when it's gonna come out, but just even that, just having someone like
Hmm.
available for me to just say, hey, these are things I have in my head. How would we make it happen? You
Right.
know, it's just so important to have people that you can really trust and know they're going to give you clear, concise answers. And again, it's not a door shut, it's just so that you're not wasting your time. Because
Yeah.
as creatives, there's so many routes to go
Yeah,
in.
because we definitely don't want you to feel like you're wasting time or that you're in the weeds doing stuff that literally
Yeah.
we all have within our businesses. We all have certain people that do certain things. I don't do my own accounting. Yeah, that's a real thing because that just makes my head explode. So I have people to do that. But, and I would be remiss in saying that if we didn't give a shout out to Michelle White, who does your
Oh, of
book
course. Yes,
design,
please. Thank
because
you. Yes.
yeah, obviously, especially those first few books, like really understanding, okay, how do the illustrations have to be created? In what kind of format do they need to be done so that they can
Yeah.
translate into a book? That's
Yeah.
to me, that's above my pay grade. This is why we have a team of people
Yeah.
that do certain things. We all stay in our lane because we want to
Yep.
make sure that it's a seamless experience for you, the author, because we all have our strengths. And
Yeah.
just like Melanie is fantastic at book marketing, that's not my area of expertise. Yes, I have background in it, but mine is really let's get the book done. that's,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
why it's called
Yeah.
Finish the Book
Yeah.
publishing,
Well,
because
another thing,
yeah,
sorry. Oh no, another thing we should mention too, because like our first conversations, you know, with the first book, when me and Michelle were figuring out layout and what I liked, what I didn't like, I remember you clearly suggesting to me, oh, but you know, do you want to put something else on the text page? And I said, oh, well, what do you mean? And you said, like, for me, I put my pineapple. And I was like, oh, and it just sparked that thing because on every text page in all of my books, there's the rose. And it
yes,
happened in the original illustration is actually with my godchild. That's something that I specifically drew for
hmm,
her. That was one of her birthday gifts one year. That's something I create especially for her. And roses are my favorite flower. It's her favorite flower, my mom and grandma. And so that was like a really beautiful moment of that piece coming, and that's been consistent, and I
yeah.
do want it to be consistent in the other books too. So that's the beauty too, is sometimes you get to, like you said, you get to the layout, and Michelle gave me a lot of, and to Michelle's credit too, I have to give her this shout out as well. She did give me quite a few fun layouts to choose from, so it's not
Yeah.
like we didn't explore things, you know what I mean? And so
Yes.
that was nice too.
And by you having the rows on your pages and all the other things that you're doing with the stuffies and with the merchandise and the activity books, and it all comes together. It's part of your overall brand. So we have to look at
Yeah.
those things too, because it has to be cohesive. You can't have something that's mismatched because the consumer the people that are reading your books and buying your books, they're not going to get it. We have to connect the dots for them to make it
Yeah.
easy for them to say, oh yeah, this is the brand. I get it,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, it totally
Right.
makes sense. But when you first start embarking on your publishing journey, a lot of people don't think about those kinds of things. They're just like, I just want the book done. And I'm like, well, there's all this other stuff we have to talk about. We have to talk about what goes on the cover, and we have to talk about all the ins and outs and creating a series. And yeah, it's much more, it's a deeper dive than just like saying, let's just put your book together and finish it, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I feel like that's where having a mission
Yeah.
comes into play too. And even before I went to Susan's conference and met you and Melanie and everyone else, I remember not interviewing, but having networking calls with different people in the book industry. And they said, if you can come back with blah, blah, blah. And part of it was a mission.
Mm.
And so that was buzzing in my head. And Susan Crossman actually put it out, said it very eloquently to me once, where she said she's worked with authors that they write a book because they're looking to do a career pivot. She's worked with authors that are writing a book because they just want to be a best-selling author on Amazon, or she's working with authors that are writing the book because of a business they're
Right.
developing, or them. I fall in the translation category of authors. And
Mhm.
so, in light of what you're saying, I completely agree because you need to have a reason. You have to know a reason why, and there's no wrong reason. And that's the other thing I always tell aspiring writers too, is I say, just keep in mind, just know why you're writing this book.
Yep.
Because people aren't going to turn you away because of your reason. They're going to turn you away because of lack of reason. And that's something really powerful that I don't think people always understand about the book industry, because
Yes.
books are a very powerful marketing tool. And
Yes.
it's,
And I have to say too, your books are on with bedside reading. Is that correct?
they are, yes, they
Yes.
are. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell our audience what that means for you as an
Oh,
author.
yes, absolutely. Yes. So I was so excited to connect with Jane at Bedside Reading. And it's so funny because Melanie knows her. And then I met her through my influencer friend who introduced
Yes.
me to her PR friend. And then you had lunch with Jane like right after I
Yeah. And then
signed
I met
on.
Jane and went, wait, you're Christina's one of your It's like, what?
Because I remember
It's
emailing
like
you
a
the day
very
before.
small world.
Exactly. I remember emailing you about it the day before, just like checking in on things. Because again, my marketing brain was like, wait, I don't think this page is in book one. We need to get it in book one. And so we were cross-checking. And yes, so Jane has a company, Bedside Reading. And what she does is she gets authors' books into hotels as part of the hotel's gift packages. So that way people are able to read your book in an organic way.
Right. And
And
not just hotels, but
awesome.
high-end hotels, like
Yes,
the
exactly.
luxury
Yes.
boutique hotels. And it's really cool what she does. So
Yeah,
big shout out to Jane as
yeah.
well.
Amazing. Yeah, no, she's
Yeah.
great. I'm really excited to see how this runs. And ideally, we are looking at it for the big picture. I mean, this first step, because this is our first time working together. This past weekend, my books were in the Hamptons and their campaign, which is super exciting, which I was really grateful for. But we also are working, ideally, the goal that I expressed to Jane, and she felt, and she gave me some next steps from her end that she needed from me. And so the ideal plan is to get my books as part of the welcome package for children in high-end hotels.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we see like at the plaza or at the fancy like beach hotels, children will be given like a coloring packet, they'll be given a stuffy maybe. And so that's where we're really going eventually is
Yes.
I would love to be able to partner with hotels to have my books, coloring books, and ideally the stuffed animals included in a welcome package. And I definitely see that happening. And the other piece of this too that I'll share, and Melanie knows about this, so I feel like I think I might have told you too offline.
Not like a
So
spoiler alert or
yeah, yeah,
anything.
yeah, 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 yeah. I feel like I've told you about it too. This I can't say. I know I definitely told Melanie. One of my goals is to bring my books to Europe. And honestly, I see getting my books in hotels as a nice step towards doing that because I see a lot of children's, especially children's studios that are focused on crafts, like really, whether it's painting or painting pottery or jewelry making, what have you. I've seen hotels hire these people to go and do a pop-up in their hotel in the Bahamas or their hotels in Bermuda and whatnot. And as someone that loves to travel to Europe, and August is one of the months that I go out there, and I do tend to go to beachy areas because I'm an ocean. I love the ocean. Is there isn't that for the kids? There's a playground. Yes, there's the beach, but there's not
Mm.
like any kind of activity. And that's like a big dream I have is first getting my books into hotels in a consistent way, and then eventually the
Mm.
possibility of me being hired to go out there and do some kind of story time, craft time program. Maybe
Yes,
it's like 2, 3 times a day. I don't know what it would look like, you know what I mean? But again, like I'm all about this is the businesswoman in me that comes out where I'm all about like, well, let's sit down. What's our budget? What are your clients looking for? Let's figure
exactly.
this out. Because the
Yeah,
reality is we can it's just a matter of knowing. That's the thing I say about sales. If you can figure out the problem, you can nail it. That's the
exactly.
thing. And like I keep saying, I'm like, I just need to get people talking. Once I get them talking, I'm like, oh, that's what I'm gonna do. And like I've done that call like on more than one occasion. It always works. So I'm like, just keep talking, just keep talking. I'll figure this out.
That's awesome. Now, we've also talked about translating your books into Spanish.
Yes,
So
that's a big
that's
one too.
another thing that we've talked about doing. And of course, anyone who's listening to this, these are all short and long-term goals. You don't do it all overnight. Obviously, Christina has been working at this for many years, but you can see how it does kind of take on a life of its own, and then it layers. Like there's, okay, let's do this, let's do that. There's more things that we can always do because really the sky is the limit. And so why limit yourself? So yeah.
No, absolutely. And I do believe, and I actually have a friend that wants to help me out with that project. Because I reached out to you. I'm like, how do we make this work? Because I do agree with you. I think getting my books into different languages
Yeah.
is going to be really huge because I feel like there are a lot of multicultural households, even here in the US.
Yes.
And being able to service those families, being able to have my book in different languages so that the older generation who may not be as fluent in the other language has a way to enjoy the stories with their children, their grandchildren, et cetera, et cetera. And also, as an American that is learning a second language, finally, I do feel like I don't know, it's exciting. And even as a grown woman, I see children's books in the library in a different language. And I think, oh God, I have to grab those because that's like a good way to also learn and also practice the language.
Yes, absolutely. Now, I love to ask my guests about their intuition. And so, my question for you is at what point or what time can you tell our audience about when you listen to your intuition, or maybe you didn't? And what was the result of that?
Oh gosh. So I actually have two if we have time for it. So my first intuition where I listened to myself, when I first started writing the series, I originally had this idea that there would be four main characters. And over the course of the series, there will be a certain number of books for the characters. And when I wrote my first book, which is actually the 15th book of the series, is coming out this fall. That was the first book I officially wrote, and then I wrote 9 other stories within that week as well. And that's the thing as a writer, I feel, and also as a creative, I'm one of those creatives where I just go, see what it looks like, and then go back and do
Yep.
more. And that first book I wrote was about Bella Elephant. And I realized I was writing, although the story was inspired from a memory that a friend of mine shared about her mom, who I was also very close to,
Mhm.
I realized I was actually writing about mom and I.
Oh,
And then when I illustrated, I was illustrating mom and I in the kitchen because I'm
mm,
an 80s kid. We didn't have the towers and all these
right.
lovely things. We took the kitchen chair and pushed it up against the counter. And that's what Bella does too. She has her kitchen chair and little things like that. And I was that little girl in like the pinafore and like the cute shoes and whatnot. And shocker. And that was a big, I know, right? And so that was a big listening point because I grew up in an environment where I was told not to talk about myself. I was not to put too much attention on myself, all of these things. And so that was a big moment to take ownership. Oh my gosh, this character is me.
Mm,
I'm writing about myself. I'm also writing about mom, and I need to focus just on this.
mm,
And in some of those other stories that I wrote within that week, I rewrote them to have Bella Elephant be the main character. And yes, I jiggered some of the characters that were supposed to be another animal, but I made them into an elephant or vice versa or something.
Right.
And so that was like a big moment. And the other piece where it took me a minute to listen to my intuition, and I do know why. So that's why I felt like it was important. So when I first started my journey, when I realized I was a writer, I was actually working with this man that I met through a networking group, and he made me a good deal to work with me on my messaging. And when you're working by yourself, you do crave more community than
Mm.
ever. And he was one of those people where he had a very strong voice and he made it very clear, at least I thought in the moment, that he knew what it took to put out a book because he had written and had a few books published. But halfway through the following year, I realized it wasn't right. And
Mm.
I got a lot of people telling me, how can you stay? How can you stay? And I knew why I was staying because I didn't know where I was landing.
Ah,
And I felt that snap moment in December. And I remember the day after New Year's Day sending the email saying, you know what, I'm taking a break. And I went through a couple of, I wouldn't say dark months, but like I was doing a lot of networking, looking for an editor, figuring out how do I publish my book and whatnot. And I kept going. And I remember I did that January when I was in the midst of this, I did a summit through my friend Olivia. And Susan Crossman was one of the speakers. And I
right.
remember making a note in my notebook, oh, talk to Susan. Well, I didn't right away. I just slipped my mind, but I was still, because I was networking with all these people. It was one of those things where I wrote it down, but it just was, I was like, I forgot about it. And so I became really good friends with one of the other speakers. She had self-published a book. So I'll never forget it. It was Good Friday. And I remember calling Megan and saying, Megan, can you please put me in touch with the people that publish your books? I said, and I
Mm.
told her, I know they're not right for me, but I want to find out who they know. That's what
Mhm.
I was doing. And she was
Very smart.
fighting me on it. And I'm like, Megan, you just gotta trust me. Just let me talk to these people. And then she said to me, and I swear to God, it was my grandmother intervening. She said to me, and then she said, well, wait, have you talked to Susan Crossman? I'm like, oh, Susan, the summit. Yeah,
It
we
shows
met
up
3 days
again,
ago.
right?
And so I did. I reached out Easter Monday. Susan said, go, please go ahead and book a time, but I'm also hosting this conference. It could be really great for you to attend. And I
Mhm.
did. And the businesswoman in me printed the agenda in advance and I made notes of who I was going to see.
That's
And
me too.
Melanie, exactly, just, I like, we only have so many hours in the day. We need to be efficient, right? And so I
Yeah.
clearly remember going to Melanie's seminar and going to your seminar and making notes. And I remember this is you're gonna please don't
I
kill me. I
remember this
remember,
very clearly. Yeah.
yeah, and I remember going to your seminar and thinking, okay, I like Susie, but I don't think it's the right time to reach out. And then I started working with Melanie, and then a couple months later, when it was time to reach out to somebody,
Mhm.
Sue and Melanie put me in touch with you and another woman who was also very lovely. Don't get me wrong, and like we just clicked, and I
Yeah.
knew this is my publishing agent. This is who's
Yes,
gonna get
exactly.
my books done.
And see, it just took a couple times for you to trust your intuition, but once you did, the pieces kind of fell into place. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
fascinating how that works. I just think it's very cool. Well, I'd like to see if we can pull some cards based on this
sure.
conversation. It's always interesting to see what comes out with the cards as far as what our audience need to know. And then before we wrap up, if there's anything else you want to share, we will
Sure.
do that. So let's just see what the cards have to say today.
Okay,
What is the
amazing.
guidance for our audience based on this conversation today with Kristina Lucia? I love that Italian name, by the way. I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
I okay, and I just the fact that you actually did a Bella, what is it? Bella becomes a ballerina, or no?
Bella Ballerina, yeah.
Bella's ballet class. For those of you that have a love of ballet, you have to check that book out. It's absolutely adorable.
Thank
Um,
you.
but there's so many. Like Bella goes to Italy. That's a great one. Bella's Halloween
Paris is a
costume. I mean, they're just all so cute and fun. And I love that you on the activity books that you actually took and you took like different pieces from several of the books to create the activity books. So yeah, I just love
yeah.
it. It's great. Awesome.
Oh,
Okay,
thank you.
let's see what guidance we have. Okay, this is so perfect. You cannot make this stuff up. So the first card out is a 20 card. So 20 is the beginning, really one is the beginning of a cycle. So 20 is going to be at the start of a cycle, new cycle,
Okay.
something
Yeah.
that's new and creative. And the card we get is the Imagine card. Now I'm going to put it up there. Hopefully you can see that with the light here.
Yeah.
That's the Imagine card. So you can see she's literally got the moon on a string, and it's all about what can you imagine? What are the possibilities? Like the possibilities, like I said, the sky's the limit. The possibilities are endless, right? So what is it that you want to create? And it's interesting because the card is blue. Well, blue is the color of the throat chakra. So whatever it is that you want to create, set your intentions and speak it out loud, because it will help manifest that into the world. So if you say, I want to become a children's book author, great, write that down, speak it into the world, and then say it as if it already is. I am a children's book author. So that's very interesting that we're talking all about this creation, and the Imagine card comes out, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then we have an 18 card. So 1 plus 8 is a 9. This is the Serendipity card. So this is saying you're in for some good luck. There's luck coming your way. Love it, right? And this 4-wreath clover, she's like taking off. It's this whole idea of take off and do the things that are just amazing to you. It's going to bring you back tenfold in money and resources. One thing to always consider that I love this whole idea is when you were looking for your publishing team, you weren't thinking about the money. That wasn't even a concern. You were looking for the right people, and you were asking for guidance and saying, bring me the right people. And when you do that and you take money out of the equation and you do it from green, your heart space, your heart chakra, right? When you do it from the space of love, the money comes back because it's about that energetic exchange. For those of you listening, get on it, because you're about ready to take off, be creative, and it's going to be from a place of love. Now, this is interesting too. You got the 22 card. So 22 is a master number. And you actually, with another 2, the 20 card, you now have 222. 222, that's an angel number. So look those up. Those have impact for you. And this card is blessed. I love this card. So you can see the pink and the purple. The pink represents the color of love, which is the rose quartz. If you don't have rose quartz, get rose quartz, these little bracelets, get some rose quartz. Purple is amethyst. That's protection. So this is saying she's actually in a shell with wings. And so this is saying, come out of your shell, be ready to fly, right? You are safe and protected and loved, and you're blessed. So you have 3 beautiful cards today for our audience. And thank you for injecting your energy into it. That's super fun.
Oh,
I love
thank
it.
you.
Love it. Okay, so Kristina, how can people find you?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So I always have my website, and there is a link to sign up for my email list because I always have newsletters going out, letting people know about collaborations I'm working on and books that are coming out, or just me saying hello. I'm all about having resources available for everyone. So it's one thing to talk about it, but it's another thing to provide actual action steps, actual things that people can immerse in. I'm
Right.
also very active on IG. So my handle is Kristina Lucia Pezza. So it's my name, Pezza. So it's easy to find. I'm always active there. And I am working on building my other channels too. That is a work in progress as well. But those are like the main ways to find me and keep up to date on what's happening. And
That's
I would love
awesome.
to share it with all of you.
Are you doing another workshop coming up soon? I know you did what, maybe last year, I think it was, that you
I
did a
did one.
workshop on children's books. Yeah.
Yeah, I did one in June, and that's something else that I am developing is how I can do that more regularly. Because, like, you've been so gracious sharing it with your audience. I've actually had a lot of amazing people reach out to me that from your email list. So, hey, I'm coming, or I loved it, and da da da. So, if not by the end of this year, definitely next year. I feel like that's really important, and I really do feel it's a really great course to do because there are things I share that I feel aren't always talked about.
Mm,
Like, spoiler, one little gift I can share is, so I'm a big believer in Easter eggs.
mm,
And it's funny because even when I talk to the kids, I use this example, even though they have no idea who I'm talking about, but the teachers say, but no, the way you say things, you explain it well. So what I tell the kids is, and I tell us the adults too, I'm a huge Hitchcock fan. I think Alfred Hitchcock is he's one of my all-time favorite directors. I wish I could have been one of his leading ladies. I know I have the wrong hair color, but still, I would have
No,
loved
he
to
would
been
have just dyed
considered.
you blonde or had
He
you
just
wear a
looked.
wig. I'm a huge Hitchcock fan too. In fact, which one did I just watch? Vertigo. I just watched
Oh,
Vertigo.
I love
And I'm telling you
Hitchcock.
what, probably one I have to say, one of Jimmy Stewart's, like one of his best roles ever. But yeah, it's just the Easter eggs. Oh my gosh.
That's exactly what I talk about to adults is he's so good at the Easter
Yes.
eggs. And when I talk about to kids is how he was such a great communicator because him and his wife would sit down together and work on the script.
Yes.
And so he would come to the table and be very clear about what he was looking for. But he also knew how to give people space. So when he worked with Edith Wharton, that the famous costume designer who worked with Elizabeth Taylor, and she dressed Grace Kelly in the
Right.
Hitchcock films, and I think she also worked on Vertigo. She
And
definitely did To Catch a
I
Thief.
think she also did Janet Leigh in Psycho.
Janet Leigh.
Yep.
Yeah, Psycho.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know she definitely did To Catch a Thief. She definitely did Rear Window with Grace Kelly as
Hmm.
well. But so he had this clarity where he could tell people what he was looking for, but
Right.
also give them the space to put their secret sauce in
Yes.
it. And he also, because he was a sketcher, I don't know if he was a studio artist, but he did draw. And so he would actually draw out images of the scripts, like in Vertigo,
Like
when
a
Jimmy Stewart's
storyboard. Yeah.
hanging, a storyboard. Thank you. Like he clearly did that. And you're thinking, well, Christina, you write a children's book. How in the world are you getting an Easter egg in such a short amount of time? I do. So in all of my
I love
books, so the rose in a sense is an Easter egg. Because honestly, if you're a curious person like me, okay, what's going on with the rose? Like, why is there a
Yes.
rose always in your books? And even in the illustrations, there's roses. But my biggest Easter egg that I do, and this is the devil that I am, I have an owl in all of my books. He's always in one illustration, and he is never mentioned in the text. I
Oh my gosh.
never
Now I got
mention
to
him.
go look for the owl.
He's
And you know what an
always
owl
in.
represents, like in spirituality? The owl represents your higher self.
Oh,
It represents your deep knowing, your understanding, your intuitive sense, right? Oh my gosh, wild that you have that in your books. I'm going to go look through every single one.
yep. There's
Now.
always an
Find
owl
the owl.
somehow.
You
Yep,
could
the
actually
owl.
do a whole activity book around find the owl
Yeah, yeah.
or a
Well,
game or
eventually, I
something.
do see the series going to animation, and I think that's going to be a big conversation at the script table. Is do we give the owl a name? Does the owl have a moment?
You could have a
Does the owl
contest on
say,
naming the owl for all these kids in one of your
yeah,
events or something. Yeah,
and that's the thing, and that's why I did it. And the other reason, so the other reason why I did it too is because you have to understand too, when you are producing a book for a certain age level, you also have age levels before and well beyond your reading level that are
right.
also enjoying the book. It's
Yes.
not like a chick flick book or like a romance book where, okay, you're getting maybe, yes, maybe you might get some males, but honestly, we're going for like a certain female type, right? When you're writing a children's book, you're going for the younger siblings, you're going for the older siblings, you're going for the grandparents and the
Yep.
parents and the aunts and uncles and aunts. And you have to understand, and as an aunt, I'm speaking as an aunt,
Yep.
like some of these books we read a gazillion times over. And unless we like the book, we need something to entertain us. And so I did that for mom and dad. And another Easter egg idea I have, and this is like in my universe idea, is when the books do go in animation, I do want it written in my contract that I come in as a different character in every single series. And I think I should have one or two lines, pull a Hitchcock on the kids. And so
Yes.
it's like, where is Aunt Christina? So when Hitchcock is like in the back of the bus in To Catch a
Right.
Thief, or he's or North by Northwest when like the bus doors close on him, or in The Man Who Knew Too Much when he's standing next to Jimmy Stewart and
Oh my
Doris
gosh, I have
Day
to
in
go
the
back and
crowd.
watch all these movies now. I've watched several. And if you haven't watched, it's on Netflix. Sorry, that's not a paid advertisement for Netflix, but I'm saying you can find it there. It's an actual movie called Hitchcock.
Oh
And
yes.
yes, and Sir Anthony Hopkins plays Hitchcock,
Mhm.
but it really is about the relationship between him and his wife and how much of the writing and editing that she did. It's fascinating. So go watch that because it gives you like the backstory behind his movies. And it'll just, if you like Hitchcock at all, you're going to want to go watch all the movies. So yeah, I'm on this Hitchcock binge right now.
Oh my gosh, amazing, amazing. But that's the beauty is once you understand what they're doing
Yes.
and why they're doing it, you can take it and adapt it to yourself. Because honestly, would I ever write something? Because Rear Window is one of my all-time favorites. And the short story that it's based off of, majority of the characters are not included.
Right.
And so what Hitchcock did when and also I will include his wife because I do agree with,
Yes.
like, I actually was aware of that. I actually was
Yeah.
aware that she was heavily involved in the editing process. They involved the the idea of relationships, and that's
Hmm.
the thing. And when you look at, because I was just watching it, and I'll probably watch it again this week because like my friends have a big screen, so I thought it's a good opportunity to watch it.
Watch the
The way
Hitchcock
that
movie, like that's
I will
based
watch
on
that
his
too.
life.
Yeah,
It's
but
fascinating. Yeah.
yeah. But if you watch Rear Window, and so Jimmy Stewart's apartment directly across from the salesman, and you start looking at how strategically Hitchcock placed the
Yes.
people in different relationships. You have Miss Torso, who's looking for a guy but can't quite find the right guy, even though she's very attractive. Then you have the sculptor underneath who's just like in her own world. Then you have
Hmm.
Miss Lonely Hearts right underneath. But then above you have the married couple. Well, they're getting along while they still bicker and whatnot and are
Right.
doing their thing. And it's like you have this focus on the salesman and his wife who are having a very difficult time. But then as you bridge out, you have people at different stages. And
Right.
it's ironic because the newlyweds are the farthest from the salesman's apartment.
Yes.
So it's like you have this arc of relationships and how it can
Hmm.
start off so blissful and so amazing. And that's part, I mean, this is an adult podcast, so I hope I'm able to say this, but the whole joke of the shade always being down.
Yes.
And the second the husband goes out for a cigarette, you hear the wife calling for him.
Right.
But
Yeah.
then but so it's just the way and that's the thing as a writer, that's like where I'm like, oh wow, how can
Yes.
I do this
Yes, you have to
on a
have arc to
level?
the story. You have to have multiple characters. It can't just be the same thing all the time. And that's what makes Hitchcock a great lesson for all of us that are writing, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. He plans it out, he maps it out so that he knows who's related to who and how this story
Yeah.
applies to this lesson or whatever it is. I mean, it's brilliant. So yeah, if you if you're doing any kind of writing at all, go watch Hitchcock because
I know he's
yeah. Yeah.
creme de la creme.
And I think all of his movies were actually book adaptations from books that he didn't
Yes.
even write. But then
Yeah.
it's really interesting. I won't tell you what happens with the Psycho book in the movie because you need to watch it because it's fascinating. But yeah,
Oh really? I've only seen the movie. I haven't read the book.
yeah, I haven't read the book either.
Oh, you haven't?
I know it's amazing because
Oh,
I'm one of those people that if I've always been an avid reader, especially in particular when I was a child, but now I find myself a lot of times just being like, when I'm done at the end of the day, I don't really have the bandwidth to read.
right, right, right.
I'm
Well,
like,
what's
oh, I want
ironic?
to read.
Well,
So
yeah.
yeah, so I tend to watch movies and especially book adaptations. I'm fascinated by them because
Okay.
I've written a screenplay. And so it's always fun to see how they're going to take that book and turn it into a movie. But movies do illustrate the great way to have an arc of a story and how to start off your book in a compelling way that grabs the reader to the hook, right? So yeah, it's all those fun things. So definitely. I don't care if you're writing
Um,
children's book, go watch Hitchcock.
Well, it's so ironic because, like, really fast, I'll share. I just watched a movie this past weekend from it's I wouldn't say it's a classic. It's a very controversial book. That's why I'm being shy about saying what it is. And the reason why I know of the book is because it's controversial and it's been referenced in various movies, even in certain books. And people always make a big deal out of the raciness of it.
Hmm.
But when I actually do want to read this book because in the movie version that I just watched of it, I've never heard anyone talk about the husband. The
Oh,
husband is a narcissist.
mm,
And this has also taken place in a period of the 19th century where women weren't able to live on their own, where they
mm,
were dependent on their husband's wealth. And yet this man was a narcissist. That's the thing. And I was just like really blown away, like in this last scene when they have this fight, when spoiler alert, she leaves him, which is good though, because like it ends the way we all
right?
want it to do. You
Yes.
want it to be. But it was this moment of, I can't believe no one's ever talked about this. And it's like in
Ah,
light too of one of my favorite musicals is Hair.
mm,
And
yes.
people get very silly over one particular scene. But honestly, as an artist, not that as a performer, would I be able to do it? No, I'm way too shy. I don't have that kind of confidence to do it. But to me, that choice to have the cast do what they do is to focus the attention on Claude
Right.
and to focus and take away the pressure of it. The reality is, in that period of history, there was this pressure. And obviously, I'm talking about the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
There was this pressure to be like the clean cut, good citizen and go to war and do what we're told to do.
Mhm.
But there's also this other clear lane of let's be rebels. Let's grow out
Yep.
our hair. Let's be
Let's
dirty.
not follow the norm. We don't agree with war. And so we're
Yeah.
gonna buck the system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
that
funny because we're
moment,
very much in that same situation today
yeah,
in many
yeah,
ways, right?
yeah, absolutely. And that moment where Claude is holding that draft card, it is a moment of him as an individual, him as a human, saying, well, what do I want?
Exactly.
Not what do
Yeah.
my friends want, not what do my parents want, not what my country, what do I want?
Which is
And that's
so
really what it is.
interesting because
Yeah.
it actually does fall in line with these cards. Imagine what you want, create the world you want to create, take off and ask for help and resources, and just know that you're blessed. Like, right? Like, we can create the things we want to create. There are no limitations. The limitations are ourselves.
Amazing. Yeah, absolutely.
And you're proof of that. 14 books later, 7 activity books, stuffies, merchandise. Like, holy cow.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that so much. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Do you have anything else that you want to add today?
Oh, no, I do want to say amethyst is actually my birthstone. And so that was really amazing. And the other thing I just wanted to mention too is that this is another Easter egg that I don't talk about often. So in the logo, in my company logo, which is actually a logo that I drew myself, it's actually my art, Bella Elephant is holding 3 roses. And the 3
Aw.
roses represent my trinity of angels. That's why you said angels in in the reading. It was really powerful because I always say I have my Holy Trinity as a Catholic, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Sure.
But I also have my family Trinity, which is my mother, grandmother, and great grandmother. And so that's why Bella holds 3 roses, because that represents my holy, my feminine trilogy.
Yeah.
And that's the other Easter egg too. Actually, I know you know this, but that's why my author last name is Petza, because I was baptized Kristina Lucia. So legally, I'm Kristina Lucia Andrews. And I was actually talking to another children's author, and she told me the story behind her name and how she actually legally changed it and why she changed it. And later on that day, I was with my sister, and I told her, I said, I'm thinking of taking a pen name. I want to take mom's maiden name.
I love that.
And that's how Petza became. And the other really funny thing about this too, it's not so much an Easter egg, it's more of like a real truth. My grandmother was a very feisty Italian woman. And I can just hear my
Why
mom's
does
voice
that
in
not
my
surprise
head.
me?
I can hear my mom's voice. Put your grandmother first. Put your grandmother first. So it's kind of funny that
Yes.
it's because it's legally, my name is like legally Kristina Lucia. And
Right.
so it's kind of funny that Lucia becomes before Petza because it's like grandma and then mom. So and my mother's like, no, trust me, your grandmother needs to come first. Trust me.
I love that.
I can't put up with her every
Put
day in
grandma
heaven.
first.
She would have though.
Too
Yeah,
funny.
she could. I can hear my mom's voice in my head. Please put your grandmother first. Please put your grandmother first.
Oh, I love that so much. Yeah. And I love having those kinds of references to family and heritage and ancestry. I think it's really cool. So, yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Well,
you.
thanks for being here, Kristina. This has been fun.
Oh, same here. I wish we had I wish we had always had more time.
I know.
I love talking to you. I'm like, let's talk forever.
It's awesome. And if you found this interesting, I encourage you to join me for the next episode and be sure to subscribe. Every week, one lucky listener who subscribes and posts a review on Apple Podcasts or iTunes will be entered into the drawing for the grand prize, a private VIP day with me valued at $25,000. So be sure to subscribe and post a review. And until then, keep on writing so you can finish the damn book. We'll see you next time.
So that's it for today's episode of Finish the Damn Book. Head on over to wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe to the show. One lucky listener every single week that posts a review on Apple Podcasts or iTunes will win a chance in the grand prize drawing to win a $25,000 value private VIP day with Susan herself. Head on over to finishthedamnbookpodcast.com and pick up a free copy of Susan's gift. And join us on the next episode.